All right, welcome everybody to the June 2026 EUDIPLO community call. As with all Linux Foundation calls, this is held under the Linux Foundation antitrust policy and the Linux Foundation Code of Conduct. If you have any questions about these matters, please contact your company counsel, or if you're a member of the Linux Foundation, contact Andrew Updegrove of the firm Gesmer Updegrove LLP, which provides legal counsel to the Linux Foundation. As far as the code of conduct goes, I have the link here. I will get the antitrust and competition policy listed as a link as well. I'll make that edit while we're chatting. But our code of conduct, be excellent to each other. We're going to get a ton of work done. So we have one big topic of discussion. And Mirko, I'm going to turn it over to you while I make edit.
Thank you very much. Yes, so in the community call, we have Sean and George. I had just one topic on the agenda since the new major version will come up, where a breaking change in the credential configuration will take place. I wanted to review it. Not sure if George is interested in it. So I'm fine when he is. If he's not, we could also skip this, of course, to avoid a kind of monologue. So maybe I would ask George if there is anything he is interested to get to know.
No, well, you can skip it as you prefer. Actually, I am attending the meeting because been playing with and experimenting a little bit with Diplo during the last 2 weeks, and I wanted to know how the community is doing.
Oh, good to see. Unfortunately, you're the only person representing the audience of the community
Yes.
today.
Well, in Mirko's defense, literally we just started these calls. So EUDIPLO has been a lab project at the Open Wallet Foundation for a little less than a year now. About 6, 7 weeks ago, they applied to the OWF Technical Advisory Council for graduation to growth status, which is a more senior project. It is a more maturing project. And Mirko did a great job explaining to the TAC why EUDIPLO is ready to move, and the TAC agreed. And so now we're getting the community calls going. We're going to start letting folks know about this a little bit farther in advance. So yeah, but we've got some interesting users right now who are playing with EUDIPLO. And Mirko's going to speak at the Global Digital Collaboration in September on day one, along with another session on either day 2 or 3. We're still working on the day 2 or 3 schedule, but day one he's going to be on the big stage. So.
Great.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah. So I could also present what happened during the last call on features, if this is something you are interested, George. Um, are you using the the API interface or the web client to interact?
Actually, I'm using both. Mhm.
Okay, yeah, which is totally fine. So all the features that are in the web client you see here are also available via the API. Some things that, for example, what I mentioned with the new version. So the main idea is here, since EUDIPLO was developed as MVP, it first got support for SDJOT, then later it also got support for MDoc, and therefore the handling of the different credentials was changed. So before it was more like adding the different fields like underscore SD and so on directly into it. And the current approach is more user-friendly, where when we look here, that you have different fields where you say like, okay, this is the path, the different type, if it's mandatory, disclosable, etc. And then based on if you have defined that this should be an SDJOT, then it will be parsed or parsed into the SDJOT library, and if it's MDoc, it will be an MDoc. And so this is a more generic approach in case we will get more credential formats, maybe like VCDM from W3C later. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to write a full migration script. So in case you running the 4.4 version, there is a migration guide here to jump from 4.x to 4.0, 5.0. And here you see all the different changes. And yeah, instead of the script, it's more like a description like how the config looked before and how should it look after. I would assume that AI can easily use this to automatically migrate existing configurations, because I didn't feel so good to provide a script that will write to your mounted Docker containers, Docker volumes that you include. So this was skipped for this release. Another bigger feature, which is not available for everyone, because for this you need this connection to a registrar. We have this only right now in the German ecosystem. But the main idea here is that you have access to the schema metadata. So in Europe, it's planned that we will have this catalog of attestations. So you could easily look like, okay, what is published by different issuers in this whole ecosystem. So for example, yeah, let's look into this. So here you could say like where it's hosted, and you could then use this information when doing in your credential configuration. So normally you could say like, okay, I'm editing it manually completely. You could also use the issuer well-known metadata to fetch it, to make recommendation, or you could directly import from the catalog. I don't know if everything from them is compliant, but it will, for example, automatically create the Docker queries. It will define the trust values and so on. So it removes this human error of adding typos to claim fields like pre_name or pre-name, to be sure that it's working correctly. Yeah. So this is, as mentioned, also a new feature of the last weeks, but would only be available when you are part of the German sandbox. What was also added is the activity log. So right now I don't have anything, but the idea here is, yeah, to see in case multiple people are working or managing one instance, that you can just see the activity logs to see like, okay, who was the last person editing a specific configuration. Some more basic administration stuff. Hey, Cyril, welcome to the meeting. Yeah, we are only 4 persons today. I don't really have an agenda. So if you have any topic you want to bring to the table, feel free to speak or write it into the chat. Yes. Yeah. So what is also planned for the next weeks? So yeah, one part was that came up in the Discord, that trusted authorities was removed from the Docker query. Main reason for this was because some wallets, like the Paradigm wallet, always returned an empty response when there was something in the trusted authority list, which is normally used by defining which credentials, which issuers of the credentials are authorized to issue something. So the wallet could filter it, like when there are multiple. So this may be to add it back, and I labeled this as a good first issue to look into it, since it's more like a small change. But turns out it really helps people to that want to start with this project and look for these labeled good first issues. Then another point was this claim sets, because right now EUDIPLO has the whitelist approach, which means only fields that are defined in the whitelist will be accepted. Everything else will be stripped out because of security reasons. So I think even this could be a good first issue. Yeah. Then I see George, you're asking for custom URL schemes. We could do this. It's not a big deal. The main point right now is that EUDIPLO is primarily for the EUDI ecosystem. So we have predefined schemes in the protocols, for example, in Hype or in OpenID, in the OpenID for VC library specs or so. But I think this would be a good feature so that somebody could also say, no, I want to use another one. Do you think this should be configurable by each offer to say, for example, when I say I want to do a new issuance, let's say a loyalty card, whatever, so that I could say here also if another scheme should be used, so per credential offer or presentation one, or do you think it's a more generic one which is on instance so that it can be just defined by one environment variable?
No, I think definitely not at instance level, but I'm not sure if at credential type level or verification level or verification config, or if it should be at issuance level or verification level.
Mhm. Yeah, the question would be when we are doing it on configuration level, let's say this credential config, and then somebody is creating a credential offering two different credentials, and the one has the AV scheme, the other one has the OpenID for VP scheme. So in this situation, you wouldn't know which one to take. So maybe my recommendation would be that we are doing this then on the offer level, so that you can kind of override the scheme. Would this be fine for you?
So at issuance or verification level.
Yes. So when you start
Yeah,
like
it,
here,
it makes sense because actually, for example, you can have a credential type configured and you want to offer it using different schemes, no? But using the same credential type.
okay, great. Do you want to open an issue for this so people can see what's intended to do? This would be
Okay,
great.
yeah, I need to check how to do it, but I do it. Okay.
Yeah, you don't have to implement it, but I think I want to appreciate when people have good ideas that they also can publish or open the ticket to either work by themselves or
Okay.
define really what they want. Thank you very much. Yes. Yeah, I think then we had no new features. Yeah, I also got the for the issues here. Here we had some small bug with the Monaco editor, which got fixed happily. Here in the last session, we had this external authorization server support because in some situations you want to use hardened ones. I checked the code, so I think it should already be possible to do this. So on issuer settings, you can easily define multiple, where was it? On security, advanced federation. Oh yeah, and OpenID federation got added. So if somebody wants to play around with it, feel free to do so. I haven't done it yet. So there should be one approach for, here, yes, here the authorization servers, so that you could easily add multiple authorization servers to the config. and also define like which should be the authorization server that should be listed on top in the issuer metadata, because unfortunately some wallets provide some wallet implementations will ignore the past authorization server that you gave them during the offer request and will just pick the first one. I think also, no, here it's not included that you could, for example, pass. So here it has to be implemented during a credential offer. So this is, okay, so this is still missing, this feature that has to be included, but yeah. Cyril, do you want to bring up a topic to the table?
Hello. Sorry, maybe you talk about that before I arrived, but did you show the change for the V5?
I quickly jumped into this, but we can do it again. So the main breaking, so so I haven't released version 5
Yes.
already, but I published the migration guide, and there is one breaking change. The rest it's not, and this is the credential configuration file. So here there is no script to do this because in some situations, not just updating the database is not enough, because sometimes when you are mounting your configs inside it, this cannot be updated. So in this situation, I gave more like a description how to do this, like what will change, and that you can easily check, okay, this was the legacy approach and this is the new one. So basically, before it was like here disclosure frame, so like very SD JOT specific, and this came to a more generalized approach where you define the fields with the specific requirements, like what is this, is it disclosable or not, and then EUDIPLO will use this and pass it to the builder to build it, because this allows us to have it more in place. Otherwise, for example, for claims metadata, given name you have here, then you have claims like here. So it's very separated in the first place, and this gives more straightforward approach when defining the different approaches. Yeah.
Yeah, it looks more.
So in case you see any, of course, the recommendation is to always back up the database and config before, since the older versions are still usable. And I think there were also some small changes to the API, so that one endpoint got renamed. It was not a critical one. So here this was only where the schema metadata for the credential catalog got moved to an own endpoint and not another credential one anymore. And so this schema metadata, which should be not that relevant at this time, since I needed primarily to write a standard in Etsy about it and to get practical feedback.
Thanks.
What was also, did you have another question? Sorry.
No.
Okay. Yeah. What also got patched the last days is full support for the DC API. So the SDK is now supporting it. On the wallet side, on the EUDIPLO side, you don't have to change anything. But for example, I have set up here this kind of playground where you can then easily say, okay, either use the typical QR code. So here we get the QR code from EUDIPLO and then the typical link, or we say we are going with the DC API. One wallet that is fully supporting it is the multipass wallet, which is kind of nice. So in this situation, I don't know if it's seen, but then you get this QR code from the browser that you scan. So you will send the data actually over the DC API with some nice overview. Okay. Yes, Sean posted the link into the chat. So also we could add multipass to one of the compatible wallets that are compatible with EUDIPLO, which is great. So we have Paradigm Wallet, we have the EU reference implementation, and also the multipass wallet. And yes. Then also for performance tests, I looked at K6, some kind of benchmarking tool, so that we can so that you can either test your I can look it up here. It's in the script folder, and then the load test. It's not perfect yet. Main problem is because nobody has defined like how can you what is a good profile for load testing a verifier or an issuer. So I just set up the basic idea here which is it's this K6 from Grafana lab, so where you're just passing the different parameters of your running instance. Could be a local one, or in the end, maybe you want also to test your in production ones, where you can then say, okay, I define this, and then I can define the different profiles that should be tested. You can also then pass it to Prometheus to log it, but it will also write the logs to the file system. And then here we have different scenarios. API authentication is kind of straightforward, so how fast it can do this. For OpenID for VP presentations, I just tested the offer creation. Main problem here is, of course, for an efficient load test, you have kind of mock the whole wallet approach. Here I have to check if this is possible, since while you can write it in TypeScript, I'm not sure if you can pass the whole libraries that you need to answer such, right? Same for VCI. So I tried to start it, just that it's working, but there is no real profile yet to really measure like what are the verifications per seconds, etc., that you could do with EUDIPLO. This is an ongoing task. But if somebody wants to work on it, feel free to do so. Yes. What also, because we love code quality, is the integration into Sonar Cloud. So here we are. Allowing us to find security vulnerabilities or code improvements. It's a quite good tool, so I worked a bit on it. Of course, the goal would be to bring this kind of issues close to zero. So in case somebody has nothing to do on your side, here are always some recommendations also to work on, even like small efforts. If you think like, hey, this should be done, this can be patched. Always happy to see these contributions to bring these numbers down. Yes, and I think, for CSC API, I got one company gave me a test instance. So CSC API will be tested, the endpoint. What was also, I think, updated was the that happened quite a lot in the last 4 weeks. The key management. So interaction with an HSM should be possible right now. It was before only possible via Vault and from HashiCorp, but I think for this you need some kind of enterprise license. And here for key management, we have now multiple approaches. So database was before, Vault was also in before, and also HWS. What was new is via the PKCS 11 standard. So here you can pass in your configuration the endpoints. Unfortunately, I don't have an HSM available. So in case somebody knows some kind of emulator or has an HSM actually to test it, appreciation to get feedback on this one. And in case you say, okay, you have another approach, you could also go with the HTTP one, which is basically sending all the requests that we have here to an external HTTP endpoint. So your kind of micro service where here are the different endpoints, so requests and responses it will expect. So here's also some kind of proof of concept mini key management system. So in case you say no, you have another library system, whatever you want to use, you can also do this now. Yes. So after my long monologue, are there any other questions on your side, George or Cyril? Or even Sean, I don't know.
See, that's a gotcha question because you know I'm a product manager, not an engineer. So you're crushing me with that one, but good stuff. We do have something from Jorge in the chat. I'm sorry. Jorge shared Soft HSM version 2 and Cyril shared, I think I used Soft HSM once to do local HSM testing. It's a HSM emulator. Thanks. Those are great. Great links.
That's great. If we could mention this in the
I'll add both links to the wiki page, yeah.
Yeah, when you can link it there, so I then know like, okay, I can make some kind of issue for this to work either on myself or that somebody else can like confirm that it's working, or even build a script that can run some kind of tests also in this CI/CD. Great. Okay. Yeah, any other parts, questions, etc., from your side, from the audience? Okay, I see none. So yeah, the release of the version 5, I just want to check one or two things maybe today. So release will be either today or tomorrow. Yeah, still, since we all have the old versions still available, when you see like, okay, it's not gonna work for you, just roll back. But of course, make updates, make backups before updating. Yeah. Okay, so in case we don't have any more questions or so, I see no reason to stretch it any longer than necessary.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
I would say the next meeting we are having is going to be on June 25th. So, Cyril and Jorge, thanks for joining us. We're going to meet again on June 25th. We're going to get the word out about this meeting being a regular thing. But thank you for joining us today and participating. This has been great. Hey, Artur, welcome. Artur, we are going to, this session's been recorded. I'm going to put it up on the OWF YouTube, which I will share right now as a link. But we were about to end, Artur. Your timing is not perfect today. Usually it is perfect. So hang on one second.
Sean, the question is, in 2 weeks, we will have our EUDI on conference. So I have a conflict here.
Okay.
So the question would be if we skip it again, so then it's not a real bi-weekly EUDIPLO, but a monthly EUDIPLO call, or we move it to another week to...
Well, let's do the following. Let's think about either moving it or canceling it because I can't make that determination. We can let folks talk about that on Discord and weigh the pros and cons. But this is a brand new community call. We're just starting out, so this is, we're gonna have this. This is us getting speed together. This is not a problem. Um, Hang on one second, Artur. Let me get the link to the OWF YouTube, and we're gonna set up a UDIPLO channel. So, hey Tim, welcome. Uh, Tim is also a member of our community who spends a lot of time in the bifold and I believe Occupy space. So Tim, thanks for joining us. Um, we are talking right now. We've gone through the topics for the call today, but we're talking about when we're going to meet next. And there was a conflict in 2 weeks when we're scheduled to have this call, so we might either reschedule it or push it to 2 weeks. And the first three calls would be monthly, and then we're going to switch to an every other week cadence. Um,
Sorry for being late. I had another meeting, but
you are
either works for me.
right on time. And for everybody joining us, the UDIPLO team is going to have a playlist here, and that is the Open Wallet Foundation YouTube channel. I'm going to get that set up after this call ends, obviously, once I upload this video. But then every time we have a session, it's going to end up in there, and I'll put a link to the wiki page for the discussion there in case there are links and such, like the HSM emulator that Cyril and Jorge were talking about earlier. All righty.
Okay. So since Tim and Arthur saw our audience kind of doubled once we wanted to close it. So my question would be to Tim and Arthur. Main topics for today was just to go through the migration guide for version 5 that will come today or tomorrow. And yeah, so this was and then also the last features that came on the last 4 weeks since the last part. So yeah, are there any specific topics someone of you, Tim or Arthur, wants to discuss?
No specific topics for me. I do still want to test the new the PKCS 11 with Enterprise HSM as well as Bouncy HSM, which is an emulator, but haven't had a chance yet. So I'll do that before the next meeting. I'll try that with Luna HSM, which is a Talus product.
Great to see. Also, George and Cyril think that you can use soft HSM to emulate this. So happy to see when you want to give feedback on testing this. Much appreciation. Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. Not, yeah, I did quickly look at the upgrade guide, but since I'm not using it in any way that I need to upgrade, I wasn't. Nothing jumped out at me there.
Any other topic you want to bring up?
No, I'm good, thanks.
Okay. I just mentioned to the others that also multipass, so the wallet is full compatible. I used it to also test the DC API, so you can fully use it for issuance and presentation. Just keep in mind, it feels like multipass is the only wallet using the logo as the primary card image and not the background image. Main problem we have in the whole ecosystem right now is that we don't have any kind of design guide how credentials should be rendered into a wallet. So yeah, this is another problem.
That's interesting. So that's the multipass wallet itself does that.
Yes.
Or the test app.
Yes. So not the test app that you
Wallet.
have on apps.multipass.org. If you scroll down a little bit, you will go to multipass wallet, and this is then also a full working wallet.
Yeah, no, I do have that one. I was just curious. I've built a test wallet on multipass as well. that one I do use, the background image does come from the background image, so I was just curious. I've never been able to get a credential into the multipass wallet because it doesn't have an ad. Actually, it wasn't working last time I tried. It has
So,
sort of a pre-canned set of credentials in it that
oh, you
are.
can just use your normal camera and then it
Oh,
pops up.
okay. No, I tried the very first one that came out and I haven't downloaded it since. Okay. I will try that.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
But I do have a version that does use the back. I thought the background image was pretty standard. Interesting. Um, it's good to know.
So it seems like a lot of people are joining like half past. So maybe we should move it like half an hour for the next time. Hey, Thomas.
Hi.
Hey. Thomas, do you have some topics you want to discuss? Some of the folks are already here for the last 40 minutes. We discussed some topics, but yeah, interesting to get to know what you want to bring to the table.
Okay, thanks.
So do you have any questions or so that you want to ask or so? Okay, doesn't seem like so. If no one else has a topic, which is totally fine, we can close it. In case, let's use this for some advertisement, because in our project we will start in like an hour a discussion about intermediaries. So in the EUDI ecosystem, we will have intermediaries. Technically, you could use EUDIPLO to run as an intermediary, which means like you are doing the issuer or verifier as a service for someone else that is using, that don't want to host the data, the services, but just wants to receive the data via a webhook. And yeah, in this session, our German EUDI project will give some insights. I posted you the Zoom link where you can register for free. It will be in English. And in case you cannot make it because you have conflicts or so, all the recordings are also uploaded, not at the Open Wallet Foundation, but at the German project, where I can also pass the link in the chat if anyone is interested in, yeah.
And because this is part of the Open Wallet Foundation ecosystem, we are thrilled to promote this event. Mirko is both a member of our community and a friend, and also he works for an organization that's been very involved. So we want to make sure that we signal boost really good events like this. So we'll get something up on LinkedIn shortly. And Mirko, what's the GitLab link you just shared?
This is the one where you can find all our recordings from the German project. That's also covering technical ones. So yeah, no registration required. You can go through the list. Yeah, but covering all kinds of topics that are relevant for the EUDI ecosystem. So yeah.
Cool.
Okay. So yeah, thank you all for joining. As mentioned, in 2 weeks, I have a conflict with our conference that we will have. I can share also the link in Discord because participation online is possible. It's in English, so some tracks are streamed, but it's in conflict with the community call. I think at the time I will be on stage and debate about some topics. So yeah, we will find out. In the worst case, we will meet in like 4 weeks on the 2nd of July. But yeah, oh no, on the 9th of July, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's all
Okay.
good. Thank you so much, everybody. I'm going to stop the recording.